Mental well-being. So what is it? To cope with the challenges of the day, as he said. Anybody else can type so long. I think to cope with the challenges of the day is one of the biggest ones, right? So mental well-being, if you can cope with your challenges of the day, then your mental well-being is actually in a good space. But most people cannot cope. Most of us struggle. And it might be just a little thing that flips the boat, and it might be just a little action that pushes you over the edge, and then you get stuck in this negative mental pattern, and that's not conducive to mental well-being. So to cope with the challenges of the day is fine. That's a good answer. If anybody else types there quickly while we're busy, just quickly type what you think mental well-being is for you. All right. So the idea of this is to give you 5 tips or 5 things you can do. Some of them are going to be a bit strange. It's not like the average thing you hear every day, but that's little or no cost involved to you to help with your mental well-being. Because fundamentally, when mental well-being is just having peace in your mind, no matter what your circumstances. Okay. Being calm in your current situation, which is probably the same as cope with challenges. Yes. Okay. You'll see most of your thought processes, if you ask what mental well-being is for yourself, will go along a certain line, and it will go along a baseline. And that baseline is being calm in your current situation. Okay, having peace of mind, Esther, yes. So the biggest thing here is peace. If you've got a peaceful mind, then your mental being or your mental well-being is there. Okay, non-well-being in a mental state is when you don't have peace of mind. Now, what affects our peace of mind? Everything. Okay. All the circumstances that we are faced with in this country, all across the world, everything that we're busy with, everything that has an effect on us externally affects our mental well-being. Now, if we get stuck in those patterns, if we take those things to heart and it affects our mental well-being in a negative way, there are luckily things that you can do. There's many things that you can do to adjust your mental well-being. It doesn't have to be therapy. Okay. So therapy is just not, it's just one thing. And empowerment is therapy and therapy is empowerment, but it takes on different forms. Most people don't want to do therapy because they think they're too strong for therapy, or it's a weakness to go for therapy, or just to talk somebody. That's absolute rubbish. Okay. Because we all need a certain amount of feedback and a certain soundboard to give some feedback. And load shedding doesn't contribute to it. Definitely, load shedding does not contribute to it. Okay, but even amongst load shedding, even with the problems that we face, if you have load shedding, especially now stage 6, I think we're in stage 6 at the moment again, because it's like up and down. You never know what you're going to get with these guys. But it is actually an important thing to have, is to have that mental stability even during load shedding. And that's why we're going to touch on these 5 points tonight, because some of them are going to teach you how to do that. Okay, Chris, therapy helps screw your head back on. No, man, you should just leave it, lose it. What of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most. What a great space to be in. Okay, if you lose your mind. All right. So the first thing that you can actually start doing for mental well-being, and this is the low-cost one. The rest of them, they shouldn't. There's not really cost involved. This is the only one that might cost something. Is journaling or writing. When you write or when you journal something, I know people say keeping a diary and writing down your thoughts and just putting it pen to paper. Okay, because most of the time what we used to do for writing was write exams, write in school. It was all work based. There was some stuff that you could do for creative writing, but this type of journaling, this type of writing purely has to do with you and your life. Okay, and in this you must be very specific what you want to do with your life, very specific the type of life that you want to lead, very specific the traumas that you're busy with, that you're facing with. Now, what happens if you write something down or if you journal? It's actually a creative process. I don't know if you've ever thought about it that way, but you are creating. Okay, if you write cursive, if you write block letters, doesn't matter which type of writing you do, you are creating on a piece of paper words, letters in the form of words, and sentences you're jotting down. Now, what that does to your body is actually quite amazing, because the stuff that gets in your mind gets translated and you can see it at a distance. Okay, that's the other thing that journaling and writing does. Because if you write something far away from you and you read it, it's not in the mind anymore. So it becomes dissociated from you and you can actually read it away from yourself. Now, journaling doesn't have to be creative. You can write a word for the day. You can write a sentence. You can write a paragraph. Most people, when they start to write pages. Okay, so it's actually quite interesting when they start to write and they just let it flow. It can get quite hectic after a while. But that writing, that journaling, will assist you with mental well-being because you're putting your progress on paper, you're putting your problems on paper, and in the meantime, your mind can actually fathom out what you're busy with, as long as you are specific. Okay, so it has to be specific. You can't use an umbrella term like, okay, today I felt bad. Let's take that for instance. Today I felt bad because of what? Because of load shedding. Let's take that as an example, as that was there. Okay, so today I felt bad because of load shedding. It's not a very specific sentence. Okay, today I felt upset, sad, frustrated because of load shedding. I couldn't do the following. I couldn't do X, Y, Z. So I couldn't make food. I couldn't do work. I couldn't assist with my children with homework. Okay. Mariette and Lisa, can you just mute, or I'll be able to mute yourself. I'll think I can mute you guys here. Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So if you write, if you journal, whatever you journal, be specific about it.
Ek was nie gemute nie.
Just a short day. Nee, Lisa.
Is ek nog steeds nie gemute nie. Hoe doen ek dit?
Ek sal jou gou gemute. Daar sê, toe maar. Ek het jou gemute. Okay. All right. The power of the mute button. Haha, it gives me power to mute. I just can't unmute you, I think. Okay, so journaling is a low cost, no effort skill to learn to assist you with mental well-being. And you'll be amazed how well it works. I don't know how many of you have tried it, but during some of my most challenging times in the past couple of years, I've actually written a lot and I've gotten hold of the stuff I've used to write down, and it is actually phenomenal what comes out there and what you can learn when you go back to it. Okay, now this has to remain something private. It has to remain your journal. You don't want to share it unless you feel like you want to do that, but that privacy helps your mind to put it in the back and to start pondering on it and to start thinking around it. And then when you go back to it, you see things that wasn't there. Now, if you're specific in your writing, is specific enough, you can actually start to release previous traumas and build more positive outcomes for the future just by writing. Okay, and that's quite a nice trick, but very few of us do it. What do we do these days? We type. Okay, typing is not the same as writing. It's not the same skill. It's not the same creative process that goes behind it. So I would suggest, if you want to take up journaling or writing something that bothers you or something that happened, and be very specific about it, you start writing. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay, you start using your hands and you start writing on pieces of paper or a book that you can keep somewhere. Right, because typing is not the same thing. Don't use typing. The nervous system, it's good to type. It's faster than if you can, if you don't have one finger, but the 10 fingers. Okay, I type with 10 fingers because I was just lucky to do that and learn that at school. Funny enough, it was strange for our school days, but yes, it served me very well in the past. But if you write, you'll feel a difference. And then with writing, that focus that you have, it can be 5 minutes, can be half an hour, it can be 1 minute, but to write with all the focus, try and feel the pen, feel the paper, see how you write, see the curvature of the letters, follow it with your eyes, and you'll see it's something amazing happens after about a week of doing this daily. Okay, you'll just see that it's much better, and you can actually release some trauma with it, and you can actually get your mind equilibrated to a better state. So that's number one for mental well-being, writing or journaling. Okay, if you have questions, you're welcome to ask in the chat box. I'll get to them because I can actually see it here. Sometimes I'm going to look up because it's just a bigger screen there as usual. Now, number two. Now, this is a no-cost way of maintaining mental well-being, and this is a weird one, all right? Because we all know about exercise, we all know about movement, that's important, but stretching, just normal stretching, okay? When you stretch a muscle, it has been amazing what the studies have revealed about stretching. Now, especially with the yogi culture, because the yogis, they stretch, and the people that's been doing yoga for like 10 to 15 years, they tested their pieces, they checked out their brain structure, and in the center of the brain, there's a little insular cortex called the insula, okay? Now, this insula relates to your interoception. Now, your interoception or your interoception means that you can feel what happens in your body, you can handle stress in your body. It's like your proprioception on the outside, just reverse. You feel what's happening inside your body. And what do we feel most inside our bodies? We feel our feelings, okay? The rest we just feel if something goes wrong. Right? If you have stomach ache, if your stomach's full or too full, if you're thirsty, you start feeling that interoception, and that interoception gives you feedback from what's happening in your body. Now, what they found with the yogis is that the gray matter in the insular area is thicker. So that means the interoception is so sharp that they can actually handle stress way better. So stress can actually be relieved, and mental well-being can actually be promoted by just stretching. Okay, and it doesn't have to be yogic stretching or complicated stretching. A basic foundation or protocol will be 30-second stretch, rest for about 20 seconds, then do it again and repeat each stretch 3 times minimum. So it doesn't have to take long. But the secret is you must do it daily. Okay, daily small steps is more, or is way better for mental well-being than just doing everything at once. So small steps daily. And stretching, actually they found with the stretching, it reduced tumors in rats. It's a bit of a barbaric practice, but they stretched rats, and they can actually stretch rats just by hanging them by the tail and getting the limbs to stretch. And they found that tumor growth in some of the sick rats were negated with the stretching. Now, they don't know that will work on humans, but the studies that they've done with stretching is actually fascinating. So stretching is a no-cost way of helping you assist with your mental well-being. And you can actually find a lot of stretches on YouTube, or if you Google stuff, you can Google 5-minute asanas, you can Google yoga stretches. There's stuff that will take you literally 5 minutes, and a little process that can take you through stretching. All right. So if you stretch every day, definitely a good way to assist with mental well-being. And that's no cost. All right. But also do not stretch and push yourself to a certain limit and hurt yourself with the stretches. That's not what it's for. So breathing is important while you're stretching, and just imagining releasing the muscle. So if you release the muscle while you stretch, it's actually a nice way to do that, right? And that will bring mental well-being, because that's also part of it, right? So number 2 is stretching, no cost. Now, number 3 is a bit of a sadistic one. Okay. If you have physical discomfort, like say you're holding, all of you should know what plank is. Plank is just lying on your elbows, body straight, locking the abdomen and keeping that posture, right? That's physical discomfort, and seeing how long you can hold it there. If you do physical discomfort exercise like that, static holds, not necessarily moving, not necessarily aerobic exercises, those are all good and well, but I'm specifically talking about static holds. And you keep your mind calm during that process, your mental well-being gets a huge boost. Because say you can only hold that plank for 30 seconds and you suffer and you suffer and you hold it. Okay. Incidentally, if you can hold a position like that and you don't collapse, your body could have still gone further. It's your mind that gave up. So if you hold plank and you just go, I can't do this, and you stand up, that means your body could have done more. But if you just collapse, then you know your body's done, which is not necessary for your type of training, unless you're a very serious athlete or very serious practitioner of some other modality. But static holds and physical discomfort, if you break that barrier with 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, okay, good gauge is maybe break it with 10 seconds daily. So you can also stand with your back against the wall, bend your legs 90 degrees, hold it there. There's so many positions you can hold. For the very adventurous, you can hold handstands. You can hold certain positions. Just find what position works for you. It doesn't have to be complicated, but see that position puts you in physical discomfort, and it's a static hold, so there's no movement. And when you do that, see if you can increase that movement by 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I actually did this with my guys that did the last subconscious supercharged 28-day challenge, because it's part of their protocol for the 4 weeks. And yeah, it was very interesting what they got up to. But that will assist with your mental well-being, because you're breaking barriers. You're learning how to keep your mind calm. And that's incidentally what people use in the cold showers or ice baths or using cold exposure. It's the same thing. Only this static hold is actually a bit more achievable for most people, because especially if it's winter. I promise you, it's not so much fun having cold showers in the winter, but it's excellent afterwards. Okay. So physical discomfort, static holds, mental well-being, definitely, because you give your body something to do and you teach your mind to stay calm in those circumstances. And then the challenges that happen around you are easier to handle. right? Because some of you said, yeah, it's being calm in your current situation, just being calm during the daily stuff that happens. You teach yourself how to do that. But unfortunately, it takes practice, especially this one. So physical discomfort is a must for mental well-being. And it sounds weird because all of us run towards pleasure and avoid pain, but that's not how it works. Growth cannot happen without pain. Okay. And then as we do this, as we do the physical discomfort, the static holds, and we breathe through it, and we have a little bit of extra grit to just push through it, it's amazing what happens to your state afterwards. Okay. It'll assist you a lot. And it's definitely no cost. It's only cost is you need to do it. And then people go, yes, but I need the motivation to do it. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Usually when you start something, the motivation level rises. It's not the motivation that leads you to the action. It's actually the action that gives you more motivation. So you just have to start something. Okay. Hello, Lynette. Welcome. A bit late, but yeah, if you can just mute your mic quickly. Okay. So it's important to understand that if you do physical discomfort exercises, it's within the realm of safety. So do whatever you can. If you can't bend your legs 90 degrees, bend a little higher than 90 degrees. If you can't do a handstand, don't even attempt a handstand. If you can do plank, do plank. Okay. If you can hold your knees on the ground in a push-up position with your hands like this, hold it there. Find something that works for you that you can actually start building up incrementally during the days and during the weeks that come. All right. Because that will help a lot with this thing. Okay. How to handle this thing. Right. Now, number 4, expressing gratitude. This gratitude thing is actually quite amazing. When we express gratitude, it feels nice to be grateful for things, but our nervous system functions better and receives gratitude more optimally if somebody else shows gratitude toward us for something. Now, if you want somebody to show you something and communicate something, you have to communicate the same back. So for instance, if you tell people thank you that in your lives, thank you for what they did, that feels nice, and to feel appreciated and wanted and to receive being at the receiving end of gratitude is actually way better for your nervous system than showing gratitude for everything. But we have to start with showing gratitude for everything. Otherwise, how are we going to break the ice with this gratitude thing? And gratitude and mental well-being goes hand in hand. I cannot see any other way. And with all the people I've worked with, there's always a grateful thing that comes out of working with trauma, working with things. That gratitude, that little piece of gratitude seems to shift the whole being of a person into a different state. And naturally, that mental well-being is equilibrated and that state is achieved to find a bit more peace in gratitude. And you can make it weird, actually, because the subconscious realm likes weird things. Your memory likes weird things. Okay. We don't remember the boring, mundane things. We remember the weird stuff. Okay. The stuff that shock and awe and the weird things. So if you have gratitude, you can actually walk around and be grateful for things like your mouse pad, earphones, headphones. Just go and feel what would it be like to feel grateful for the weirdest things around you first. You don't have to go search far. And then feel what happens to your mind if you're actually quite grateful for everything around you that's helping you at this present moment in time. It can be the chair that you're sitting on. It can be the desk that you're working at. It can be the shoes in your feet. Okay, small things. Just start programming and be thankful for those things and see what happens to your mental well-being in the background. All right, because usually the mind tries and hijacks the gratitude for all these things that happen that's bad and negative, and we don't want that. Okay, so gratitude for everything, thanking everything, it's just a nice way of getting the mental well-being stable again, if that makes sense. All right. Now, the fifth one and the last one, it's a bit of a weird one, and this is a bit of a debatable one, and people are going to go, what is this? It doesn't matter. Okay, so either connecting to or conversing with a higher source. Okay, so a higher source means whatever that means for you. It can be God, it can be the Tao, it can be Allah, it can be whatever you have. There's a higher state of being that people achieve, right? And this higher state you have to connect to. Remember, I didn't say worship, I didn't say thank, I didn't say gratitude, I said connect to this higher part and this higher source, which unfortunately also takes a bit of practice. But there are simple things that you can start doing by using your imagination, asking yourself the question, what does your higher self look like? What would a higher source for you be? The higher source would be something that your imagination can latch onto and that you can experience. Now, the best way to experience that is probably, in my personal opinion, is being out in nature, or looking up at the stars, or being surrounded by the vastness of nature, and then imagine your place in that, because you are connected to that with your senses. Okay, there's no way you cannot be connected to that part. If you go out in the middle of the night, especially in winter times, the stars are rife. And if you stand there and sit there and you connect to that source, something happens. Okay, it takes a bit of a while, but you can actually connect to that source and you can see it and you can feel it, and it's just amazing. Okay, so connect to a source higher than yourself, and then conversing with that source. Conversing with that source becomes an interesting thing, because who are you talking to? Are you talking to that source, or is the source talking to you? Or is the byway communication? All right. Then the mind cannot latch on to small things that happen that we make huge, because small things like trauma, death, the worst things you can think of, if you connect to that source is way bigger than all these problems. And that just gives you that little bit of a gap in the mind to go, it's like a breather. And that breather is where the peace that we so readily seek exists. That peace lies within that space of connecting and conversing with a higher source. Now, I don't know why people refer to it as higher, but it makes sense if you're higher, because you always want to look up to the sky. Okay, I think that's why. So I look up and it's like higher. Okay, but actually that higher part of you, if you connect to it, you'll feel it inside. You'll feel it deep within your bones. It will be a visceral feeling. But unfortunately, not a lot of people take into account that space, that quiet space, because usually when you have these events and functions, they're surrounded by many people. They're surrounded by somebody who's leading it, surrounded by people who prays with you or whatever. That's fine, but try and find a solitude and a space where you can be alone and then connect in that space. And most of the time, silent prayer is a good one. Meditation is a good one. Just awareness of what is around you is a good one. That's bigger than yourself. That to me is a great way of achieving better well-being, and especially mental well-being, because the mind cannot go in another way than connecting with that source. And that source is huge. I mean, the energy that connected everything and that created everything around you, you're a part of that energy. We just seem to forget it every now and again, especially with what we have, what's busy with us. Okay, especially our energy demands. So Eskom, the Prince of Darkness, might throw some people out of that thought process of being connected to something, but it happens. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. There's a few weird ones, like the journaling and writing, very obvious, very normal. Stretching, not so much. Not a lot of people know about the stretching part. Then the static holds, or the physical discomfort, also a good one. Not a lot of people know about that one. Expressing gratitude, a lot of people know about the gratitude thing, and the gratitude in the heart and the mind. Okay, speaking of the gratitude, you must feel it. It mustn't just be words. It's a feeling. That feeling will help you connect to your higher source, because if you connect to your higher source, then that feeling is real, right? And expressing gratitude is a small way, small steps to start doing that for anything. It can be gratitude for anything, but repeat it until you feel it. Okay, it's in the feeling where the change lies. It's not in the repeating and the saying. Okay, otherwise you don't feel anything. How do you know it exists? Okay, you need that feeling as feedback. And then the last one, connecting or conversing with a higher source. That will help a lot with mental well-being. And these things everybody can do. It doesn't matter what your capacity, doesn't matter what your capability. Anybody can improve a bit of stretching, doesn't matter what the state of their body is in. Everybody can write, and even if you can't write, some people cannot write, then you can actually just scribble down and draw shapes and just use a pen and paper and see what comes out. It doesn't have to be writing. Writing is just more specific, and I think most of you on here can read and write. Okay, and then static holds, anybody can do. You can stand still on one leg, see how long you can do it. You can just stand steady like a statue, see how long you can do it. Or you can sit absolutely still with your shoulders down, back up straight, see how long you can do that. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be something specific that causes discomfort, like plank. You can hold anything for a while, see how long you can do that. And trust me, sitting still is not as easy as it sounds. Especially if you do it for 2 or 3 hours, you're not allowed to move. Okay, it becomes a nightmare, right? Expressing gratitude, everybody can do, even if it's silently from within, right? And then conversing, connecting to a higher source, definitely takes a bit of practice, but that definitely happens. And some of you might have experienced that in the past. Just remember to access it again. Awesome. Thank you, guys. We're doing well for time. It's 7:30. I think we lost a few people along the way, or someone. Now, open for questions. Is there anything you would like to ask? Is there anything you would like to know? Just pop it in the question box or in the chat box. Anything concerning these 5 points that's unclear or that you would like to have some feedback on, you're welcome to ask quickly before we end off the session for tonight. And I think the half-an-hour sessions are actually quite cool now. They're flowing, it's smooth. We're getting to the point, and half an hour is a nice time. Okay. ST, the common denominator is silence and quiet time. Yes, and ESCOM gives us this exactly. Time to reflect and connect. We must just use this time effectively. Yes, just an observation. Absolute. It's an astute observation. Okay, because silence and quiet time. When there's load shedding, yeah, it's very silent. Well, except if people are accessing generators and stuff next to you, but it is quiet and it is dark, and it's a good time to reflect. But don't get lost in the reflection, because the mind can be sneaky, right? If you sit there, you can go off into fantasy quite easily, excuse me, quite readily. So the reflect is cool, and the reflect is awesome, especially in the quiet time. But that's a good observation. Yes, I agree. And the effective use of time. Okay, I've got a little, it's interesting that, because time is very relative to most people. Okay, so don't even go with the effective use of time, because that puts a prerequisite on you to do something effective with time. Just take the time, even if it's 5 minutes. 5 minutes of focus time is effective time, but don't put the word effective in there, because time efficiency, it's a construct that's done by our social parameters, that people have to be time efficient. This must work, because that's like the industrial revolution thing. Everything must be like in a production line. All right, your growth, your mental well-being, and your spiritual growth is not a production line. Never has been, never will be. Okay, so just take the time. Don't say you're going to use time effectively now. It's a counterproductive statement, if that makes sense. All right, cool. Anybody else? If there's no more questions, then I hope this made sense. I hope you'll use at least some of these. 1, 2, or 3 of them is enough, okay, to assist with mental well-being. Because no matter the external circumstances, we've got an internal power that can guide us to that mental well-being if we train it, if we take it. Okay. I was lost a few times because of load shedding, but I found you again. We'll listen again on the recording. No questions. Gornal for now. Okay, Lisa. Yes, guys, I'll just edit the recording, see if I can just get the intro and the outro ready and see what the recording was like. And then, yeah, you can have a little bit of a look at it. I'll post it on the group maybe tomorrow. Just have some time to edit the video, but yes. Cool. You're welcome, Chris. I hope it made sense. And as usual, if you have any questions, you're welcome to message me. So I hope you have a good evening. And whether or not it's load shedding and the Prince of Darkness strikes again, I hope you use the time to your advantage and for your own personal growth and mental well-being. Thank you for joining me again for tonight.